3 topics today, and they are good ones. We got 2 WB, including Vince McMahon being backstage, and what kind of changes and how much of an impact that his changes were made to the June 5th, 2023 edition of Monday Night Raw. We also have some news on CM Punk and his lackluster drawing abilities, some could say, as well as one WB star being praised for their performance on the June 5th, 2023 edition of Monday Night Raw. So with that being said, let's get into it. First up, CM Punk. Obviously, he's returning for the AEW Collision June 17th premiere in Chicago at the United Center. And obviously, AEW has made a lot of changes and a lot of exceptions for the former World Heavyweight Champion ahead of his return. Now, look, the Chicago show, it's doing fine in ticket sales. But when AEW is going to other cities, because the idea is to do a weekly live touring show, just like Dynamite, well, that's where AEW is finding some challenges. And the fact that while, yes, CM Punk has moved tickets for the Chicago date, Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that he just hasn't done it thus far for other places, like Toronto, one of the greatest markets in North America, according to Meltzer. They sold out Forbidden Door and a snap, a finger, or fingers in this case. But then for the Collision show, they haven't sold any more than 2,000 tickets. You go to Regina and Saskatchewan, they haven't done very good there. Now, look, for the Collision show in Hamilton, in Canada, they've done 700 tickets. However, for shows like in Winnipeg, Edmonton, they've done 5,000 tickets, which is pretty good. But really, it's not a great sign. And I think it's hard to say because you have a fan base in Canada who is... Okay, first of all, you have a fan base in Canada who is not as strong as what the US market is or the UK market is in terms of television for AEW. You also have an issue of you have Collision, an unproven show. We haven't had one episode yet. And while, yes, CM Punk is going to be on there, is it going to be like Rampage but with like Punk on there? Because AEW, they have not drawn very well on Saturday nights. And that's not a knock on them. Saturday nights is the hardest night, in my opinion, to draw on television and do ratings. I think that hurts them more than Punk not being able to draw as many tickets, but I think it's a contributing factor. And I think if you're going to make so many freaking changes to your company and make so many exceptions for one guy, yeah, he needs to draw. Next up is the internal praise for one WB star coming out of the June 5th, 2023 edition of Monday Night Raw, which was headlined by Damian Priest challenging, but coming up short for the World Heavyweight title against Seth Rollins. Now, this match went 21 minutes, and I recommend you go out of your way to look at it because it was a good match. PW Insider reported that there was a lot of praise internally for Priest's work against Rollins in the headlining title bout. Obviously, Rollins retained his championship. That wasn't a shocker, but these two guys put on a match that you think that they would have, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Finally, let's talk about Vinnie Mac, the elephant in the room. So, reports started coming out in about 2 hours before Monday Night Raw went live on the USA Network from Hartford that Vince McMahon was backstage at Raw, which is not a huge surprise considering it's been such it's a close proximity to Titan Towers in Stamford, and he lives there and everything like that. Now, look, Vince McMahon hasn't made his presence known backstage at WWE events since the post-WrestleMania 39 edition of Raw in early April. Reportedly due to the fact that, one, he sees there's a little bit of uneasiness and hecticness whenever he is backstage among talent. He also doesn't have to travel to shows, which is something that he was starting to do towards the end of his tenure as head of creative. He's also making changes just by working remotely. He doesn't have to go to all these shows and make all these changes. He can just call in and be like, I want this, I want this, I want this. It's a win-win for him, right? And Vince McMahon is all about Vince McMahon. So, like, if he sees it as a good thing, and it just so happens to help talent, so be it. They prepped an office for him to work out of, and Fightful Select's Fightful Sean Ross Sapp reported that, look, there were significant parts of the show changed just a few hours before it went live on the USA Network, and that was because of Vince McMahon. We just don't know necessarily all of those changes. I would assume that news will come out in the coming days, if not today, but hell, it could be by the time this video comes out. I don't know. But it is what it is. Vince McMahon, he came back. He agreed for the merger. He agreed to be acquired by Endeavor, and then he agreed to the merger with the UFC to create a $21 billion company. So it is what it is. But thank you all so much for watching. Please consider dropping a like, subscribe for more wrestling content. I will see y'all in the next video.